how many points I had to achieve to obviously progression.
So did it come as a surprise to you when you won it?
To be quite truthful, it didn't, because I didn't have time to sit down and think about it. You know, answer to your last question, Pete.
Yeah.
It's when we got into the final.
Because we were surprised as fuck when you won it.
Well, I was surprised to win it, to be truthful with you, because the thing of it was, the further it progressed, I thought, fuck me, we got a chance of this, room of a chance here. But what we've done, we played the scoreboard. What people don't understand with the Predators was there was nothing. Obviously, there was lots of individual flair in the team, but the game was a constructed. You was getting in the ring with a professional. Every single player was told what to do, what not to do, and every single. Because my players in the team wasn't particularly good, outstanding players on their own.
No, they were against some. They like
but as a team unit, they all used to work. As I said, we went out, and my team I used to run the team with a rod of steel. They did exactly what I was told. I used to run the line at the back for the first quite a few years before I was allowed to go out and play more aggressive paintball. I'll run the line at the back, and I was basically playing chess. I was playing chess with the players, and I'd be moving up and down the line on the field, moving players, looking. And one of my attributes of paintball was I used to be able to read a field very well, and I could see an opening in another team, and I'd be able to move players across from one boundary to another and probe and probe and probe.
This actually moves quite seamlessly into the idea of what I always said in the magazines at that time when you started coming up in dominance, is that anybody trained to be a fighter was going to be good at paintball, because you just explained something, you know, when you start boxing, that you don't go bang straight in and unload everything. There's a time when you use that first round to feel your player. So you're sort of saying you use your bit of the bag to just probe the ring, which is what you do in the ring anyway, until you see the geezer, you know, drops his left hand or something when he hits you with a right. So you're saying that you used that?
Yes, we did, but as I said, it was like everything. We had the latest, we had all the,
You had cockers then, didn't you? You didn't have the...
No, that was pump guns, yeah. The first one was pumps. That was on a cross between, it was Airtex. They was Airtex and a very small array of Sheridan pump guns.
Yeah.
Then after that, we picked up the Sterling sponsorship.
That's right. Yeah.
But what it was like silly things, like with our paint. Like when we went there, a lot of people were getting bounces with paint. Our paint was kept in the motor. Silly things, other things at the team.
What did you know? Because I didn't know that at the time, and I was trying to keep my head around, because we only found out about that later.
We used to go out and we used to practice a hell of a lot. And obviously, because I used to work in paintball, I used to know that paintball has got more chance of maybe breaking in a barrel, which you didn't want in days because the squeegee wasn't very good at squeegee the barrels, or they bounce.
Yeah.
So he sort of said every single little thing, every single one of my players had a squeegee. Every single one of my players had fresh paint. We'd never come back and take our paint off and then leave it on the floor if it was cold, which it predominantly was at that time of the year.
So really, what you're saying is you're outlining, you took it a lot more professionally than the teams, because I know the fact, because we were at the time supposed to be the number 2 team with no wrecking crew, which we inhabited a place where there was probably 2 or 3 teams behind Marcus, which was us, Rafe's team and maybe Steve Mattercott's team and Turks. So, but we generally had the beating of those, and we was always second to these guys. But I know for a fact that we didn't do any of the stuff that you did, for sure.
This is what all the little silly things that a lot of other teams didn't really take much notice of. For us, was an advantage. And when it come down to maybe it was an advantage in one single game, but over the course of 10 games,
you was always going to come out.
That would give me the consistency I needed to play the scoreboard. I had one person on the team that would do nothing else but keep the scores. So I would know, and also as well, they'd be on another game watching another game. If I was say playing with you guys, and we was both joined for first place at that moment in time, and on another field, another team was playing off, and if that team comes second, beat each other with a different body count, it made a difference to our scores. I would know exactly what to do and what not to do. So there was nothing we left the chance. Even silly things like when we used to play in dense undergrowth, we had predator badges made up with little eyes on them.
So you could see each other.
So we could see each other, not just from the front, from behind. Yeah. So we never used to shoot at our own players. I used to sit down, and I used to fit like the same thing when I was boxing. I sat down and I thought to myself, right, I want to get I might not be the best boxer in the world naturally, but I'm going to be the best I can.
With what you got.
With what I've got, and I'm going to put everything I possibly can into my favour, and that's what a lot of teams didn't do.
No, I agree. But then after you did that sort of wham bam thank you man at Finmere and sort of crashed onto the seat, you never let go for fucking 10 years, which pissed me right off.
No, you kept me on the top, Peter.
You kept me at the bottom.
The rivalry between the pair of us was with.
Well, it was intense, wasn't it? It got ridiculous because
it was like, say, like Marvin Hagel and Thomas Ernst.
Yeah, but it was consuming. I mean, you talking about the other day. You used to sit down and think, "Well, how the fuck are we going to beat the Nam?"
That's right. But as I said, we were sparring partners. We used to spar all the time. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like watching two professional boxers get in a ring who know each other's moves. You try beating each other. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And as I said, without you behind us, I don't think we would have. You played a different game to us.
We didn't attack as much as
you did attack us, but we knew that if we could stay sharp with you and stay on the field, we could stay sharp with anybody.
That's right. But if you could break us down, then you, at the end of the day, could break anybody down in the world because we was pretty good.
That's right. It was like anything. We used to go out. I used to practice on shooting. They think all this stuff with the hyperborn speedball stuff and the shooting drills and the snap shooting's a new thing. I'd done this 15 years ago. It was not 15 years ago. Over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I used to go out and I used to practice one man on 4 players. All the time, over and over again. And if a player could not shoot at least 2 players out of his own, he was off the team.
I remember somebody saying. I never saw any of these drills.
And we was absolutely ruthless. A lot of teams we used to play, if they didn't get their hand up, they would keep on getting hit until they did. They used to run off the field. Right? We was absolutely off the field. We would be as nice as pie. We'd talk to people. We'd be as nice as we could. But as soon as that whistle blew, the sort of the visor came down, and we was.
Well, you're describing exactly what it's like as a fighter.
That's correct.
I mean, a lot of metaphors, that you use, and a lot of the descriptives that you use. I remember in the ring, and you remember when you got. Oh, right. Hold on. It's my mum. Hello? Okay. Yes, she's left. She's on her way. She'll be there in about 5 minutes. She's in traffic, mate. Righto? Hi, mate. Bye.
It's like you said, Peter. That's the attitude you had. Because I remember people used to say to me years ago when I did an interview in a magazine, and it came out Marcus Davis, the Marvin Hagler of the paintball world. But that was Marvin Hagler was matching my idol, but that was the philosophy and the attitude that we had. We was getting in the ring. Yeah. And we had that sort of, we wouldn't.
Yeah, I felt that.
We was very intense, and as I said,
and aggressive.
Very, very aggressive. Yeah. Physically, mentally, everything across the board. As I said, we didn't. If you. Do you remember?
You won't know this because you was on the giving end, but. And I felt it, and if I felt it with the Nam, then I know that other teams felt it. There was an air of absolute invincibility about you. I couldn't get past the psychology of beating you, and I knew that once we beat you once, then that would be it, the floodgate. But it never happened. Well, it did in the end. But I mean, you weren't at your best at the end, and I'll come to the members later on and explain something that happened. But for those 10 years, you were invincible.
But it was a simple.
So there was what I'm trying to say is for most of the teams, if not all, there was a psychological advantage.
It's a Mike Tyson syndrome. People were beaten before they even got in the ring.
Yeah.
And we used to play up to that. I would use any little kink in somebody's arm. If I could see another team was scared of us, right, that would automatically mean they would break out 5 or 10 yards short. Because they're going to go out and defensively. So that means I can grow more yardage.
Yeah, more real estate.
And the further forward my players are on the field and the better the angles I get, the quicker I can shoot players out. Yeah. And that was my philosophy. Most teams, when they played us, they used to come out and they'd drop short and they'd dig in because they knew that they couldn't beat us on an attacking game, on their head-to-head.